Winning with Wall Street today. Take a look. The Dow ending up more than 200 points, closing just shy of 21,000, while the Nasdaq ending above 6,000 for the first time ever.
It was a great day. Well, at any moment, President Trump's team is expected to meet with congressional leaders to talk tax cuts. Just a day before the president will unveil his tax plan, at least the outline of one. Markets clearly responding to happy talk on massive tax cuts, but with the bar set so high, will they be disappointed if we get anything less? Here now is Chris Edwards, Cato Institute Director of Tax Policy Studies. Chris, great to see you. So the market really is valued with the idea that we are going to get the 15% corporate tax. Who knows what other sort of things like tax simplification, individual rate cuts. What happens if it's less than that? Are the markets tanking?
I think that we will have a big corporate tax cut this year. The way to think about the math there is right now with a 35% corporate tax rate, corporations can keep 65 cents out of the dollar after tax. If you cut the rate to 15, they'll get to keep 85 cents out of the dollar. So the jump from 65 cents to 85 cents, that's a 30% increase in the after-tax return that companies will get, which should directly affect market valuation. So it is a big thing. I mean, I don't think the market is overreacting.
Chris, listen,
here.
Don't underestimate my admiration for a tax cut that size. But if it's less than that, if you know how Washington works, I mean, it's all about compromise. If it goes to 20% as a compromise figure, will the markets be disappointed?
Look, I think that would be a huge leap forward. I have been really amazed and pleasantly surprised that President Trump is sticking to his 15%.
He is.
And good for him. It is really remarkable. You know, the average global corporate tax rate now is only 24%. And, of course, with our federal rate, we've got state taxes on top. So I think 15% is a really good target.
It's tremendous. I can only think of Ireland, I know, has 12.5%. That's about the only country, industrialized country, that comes close. And to your point about President Trump sticking to his guns on this, the Wall Street Journal, I'm going to quote what they say, because there are all these dire warnings right now about how much it's going to increase the deficit and everything, not keeping into account how much the economy would grow. But this is from the Wall Street Journal. President Trump told aides it was less important to him that the 15% corporate tax rate could add to the federal budget deficit, though that might make it difficult to sell to GOP lawmakers who are wary of such a large tax cut. He clearly isn't buying into this static analysis stuff.
Yeah, good for him. And look at some real-world examples here. Britain slashed its corporate rate from 30% to 20% over the last decade. It raises the same amount in corporate tax revenue as a share of GDP. It hasn't lost any money. Canada slashed its federal corporate rate from 28 to 15%. It also has not lost any corporate tax revenue as a share of GDP. Why? Because corporations avoid and evade a lot less if you give them a lower rate, and they invest more, they build new factories. So, you know, it would be a win for the economy and a win for workers.
Well, Chris,
I think this is great.
When are individuals out there? A lot of folks wondering when their taxes are going to go down. And again, it was the across-the-board tax cuts of the Reagan years that was the most appealing thing of all, I think. And again, there we lowered rates tremendously and we doubled revenue, so there was a supply side effect back then.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, there is one difference, is that the 86 tax reform was bipartisan. You had some Democratic leaders back then who really pushed ahead with tax reform. Unfortunately, the Democratic Party's moved to the left. So I think Republicans should just pass this without them, frankly, ignore them, because I think they're just going to be obstructionists the whole way, unfortunately. So I think we should lower rates, and we should eliminate some of the deductions we don't need, like the state and local tax deduction. But, you know, the main thing is getting the corporate rate down. That'll benefit both businesses and American workers.
Well, apparently the president's talking about that right now to members of Congress, or is about to. Chris Edwards, good to see you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Melissa.